Welcome to these videos explaining how to use the Practice Your English Workbook. The first thing to do is to make sure that people understand what they're looking at, what it can do and how to use it. The easiest way to do this is to go to the Brightpath Futures website, brightpathfutures.com. Look for the Downloads tab on the menu and find the language that you're speaking and working with. There's a video at the top of the page which is translated and voiced over into that language. So the most helpful thing is to get the person to watch that video. You can find the English language version of the same thing on the home page of our website. You also need to make sure that their phone can work with the QR codes which are on the page of the workbook. So here is one I have, and you'll see that for each of the little conversations or dialogues there's a code. That QR code is linked to the video which is showing you how to say that language for each section. Some people's phones don't work with the QR codes very easily, and in that case help them find our playlist. The QR code for that is right at the bottom of the downloads page, big thing, and if you can get there then you can help them get there and share the URL. Once they've got the playlist they can navigate around and they should be able to then match the videos to the content in the book. So that's the most basic first thing you can do, is help people understand how to work with them and where the resources are. Of course, building on that, there's a lot more you can do. It's really helpful because they're sitting next to somebody who's an expert in the English language. We know we all are, just because we speak it. We can listen, we can read and write. So it's really helpful to just give people a hand practicing, taking them through the dialogue, listening to what they're saying, and then for the tricky bits where they're finding it a bit of a struggle, you can either use the video which slows it down and helps them practice it very slowly, or you can just slow it down for them. But remember, the sort of English and the way we're learning English here isn't to understand how all the individual words mean. It's to think about the whole sentence, and we can just really put it as a lot of sounds that if we can stack them together in the right way, people will understand what we want to say. So this isn't from the workbook, but I used to teach a bunch of kids and I'd teach them, as I say, chuck it away, to put something in the bin. So that's a really nice little bit of language. It sounds fun. You don't need to understand the words to chuck it away. So all of the sort of language you're after is just learning those sounds, how to put them together, and then you can speak English. And for beginners, that's a really helpful thing. All of the language in the book is designed to be really useful. So it's things that you can use in different situations, on different ways, with a real emphasis in joining in. Maybe you're in a classroom and you're not sure where to sit down, or you're at a bus stop and somebody talks to you about the weather, or you want to make an appointment. They're the kind of incidental interactions, the first interactions you're going to have with people when you don't know, and a lot of it's about coming over as being friendly rather than rude. So one of the questions people ask is, well, what level of learner is this book relevant for? And clearly, particularly with younger people, if I have a look in here and I see something like this, which is the ABC letter sounds page, I could easily think that's not for me, it's too easy, I know that already. Well, actually, the language here, a lot of it's at a much higher level than you might meet in the beginners classes, and that's because we're not sort of rating language by how complicated the structures are, because we're not learning it that way, we're just learning it as chunks of sound. So all of the language in the book is helpful, and knowing how to say can I have a pen please, rather than give me a pen, you'll come over a very different way to somebody who's a native speaker. If you can use the language other people use, they'll think you're friendly rather than rude, and they're much more likely to want to be friendly with you back. So that's just an example of how learning a good form and good pronunciation can get you quite a long way, even if you already have some English. Also, the conversations later in the book are more complicated. Making plans to meet up or talking about who you've been with. So there's quite a steep learning curve here. Many people also, for example, with literacy in mind, who are fluent and great at English, still really don't know how to make the different letter sounds between a, e, o and a for the English vowels, and for spelling that's really tricky. Or they might not have understood how when you put two letters together they make a new sound. So again, for people who've already got English, the sort of second half of the book can be very helpful. Anyway, you're sat there, you've got the book, you want to make a difference. So first of all, you show them the video, then you make sure they can use the QR codes, and also get them to read this introductory section at the front, and then you're going to give it a go. But you've never done anything like this before. You probably, let's say you're not a teacher, maybe you're a foster carer or key worker, or just a friendly volunteer somewhere. So how do you do it? Well, with one person, it's different. It's a bit easier actually, because all you need to do is practice backwards and forwards, and you can take it at their pace, at their speed. I suggest having a bit of fun with it. English can be like tongue twisters, and spelling can be ridiculous in English. So being able to have a laugh at it all and take the pressure off is really important. Celebrating those small successes, when someone can finally do something. And I think the thing to remember is, if as many people that we're supporting either haven't been to school or haven't been to school much, then that first point where you start to feel I can learn and I am doing well matters a lot more than someone who's had a really good full education. And going on that journey with somebody can feel really quite energizing actually, once they get a bit more confident and start to turn a corner. At the beginning, if somebody's never held a pen before, it can feel really scary and they might seem quite shut down. So just be very patient and do a bit of drawing, or just kind of relax with it. Show them the basics. Take that time, of how do you make a letter shape. There's a video for that. How do you write on the line? But as people get going, you can start to, in our book, we've got a little section at the back. Here it is. You can see this one, which is how you can chart people's progress. So there's 3 columns, and if they're starting it, you can kind of tick, yep, they're making a start. If they're nearly there, they've mostly got it, you can tick and put in that. And then this one here is like, yeah, they've really understood that, they've remembered it from week to week. And so we've got this sheet here, and you've got the 3 columns. So if someone's made a start and they've had a go, this orange column is just give them a tick there. If they've come back to it and they're kind of getting it now, they're not quite right, but they're making progress, they can put a tick here. This green column is yes, they've really understood it, they can remember it, it's secure. You need to come back to things, new language, usually 4 or 5 times over a few weeks to get to that green point where they've got it. But gradually they will see these ticks moving down here, and that is a good feeling for a young person. We have downloadable certificates, so you can make certificates. You can give them as many certificates as you like as you go through, just to say, yeah, well done, you've done this bit, and get that feeling of like, I'm somebody who can learn. So the confidence that comes with it, and the feeling of who I am, the identity, is just as important as the actual skills that they're learning. And the purpose of the book overall? Well, it's really to get them ready and enthusiastic about themselves as somebody who can learn, so that when they do get offered an ESOL class or a college course, they feel better prepared and better equipped, and they've got the language that they need to have a go. And once you guys get the hang of this, and you start to kind of see how these little short practices, and just taking a sentence, not worrying about splitting it up, just learning how to say it, learning the sort of the literacy bits that can come from it, you can then just build on that. You can use any language you come across. Anytime you see someone struggling to say something and they want to say it, you can write it down and just remember, next time you've got a quiet time, say, right, let's practice this bit, let's go through it together. Hey presto, you've become an English teacher. And yeah, you're doing a real service, because actually we're really short of people who know how to do this work. It's quite a specialist skill, and particularly being able to help somebody to learn to read and write who hasn't got the language in place. You think about it, if we've got kids at primary school, they go in, and on the whole, most of them have already got a pretty secure grasp of the English language to build from when they're learning how to build letter sounds and read words and write letters. And so there's lots of words we can use to teach them, but if you don't have English and you're an adult learner, so you've got a whole load of other I'm not used to doing this sort of stuff going in your brain, you don't have those words like what cup means, or what hat means, or those easy words to build from. So another important aspect of this for the complete beginners, or even for children if you're working with children, is that in this book we've taken the sounds of the English alphabet and we've used words from their language to teach them. So here I am squinting away without my glasses. But I'd say, at a guess, am I right? Yes, I am. So the letter G, we've got a picture of a flower, and a flower in Farsi is gul. So you can go, what's this? It's gul, and then the G sound for the letter G. And the same is true for all of these. And that makes it much easier for people to be able to learn and remember those sounds and spot them later. So this bit of the video is if you are working with someone who is a complete beginner on literacy and language, how do you work with that? Okay, the first thing is to get those letter sounds secure. You know, don't try and do all of them at once. Just break them up, little sections, play with them, make them into a bit of a game, draw something and see if they can spot what the sound is. And then gradually, as they come to recognise the letters and they're practising how to write the shapes of the letters at the same time, you can help people to see how to build words. So if I've got my bag next to me, here we are, my bag, and they know it's a bag. We've practiced that word bag. Then I can go bag, bag, and I can show them. I usually use my fingers, and because you can do this, bag, to show how you can build words out of a string of sounds, because that information's new. If you've never learned to read and write your own language, you won't understand that a letter shape is giving us a sound. Maybe you might know ABC, but that's really confusing because you can't go B-A-G, bag. You have to have the sounds. So you have to teach them to learn the sounds. You're going to show them how to put them together. But the important thing is you need to know the word bag first. It's the same in the book. Practice the conversations and forget the reading and writing them. Just practice them until somebody can say, hi, how are you? Fine, thanks, you. What's your name? I'm nice to meet you. Once they can say the stuff, then they've got the sounds in their head, and hi, how are you? If you're looking for a h sound, you can kind of find it on the page a lot more easily. We've helped a bit and cheated, so we've put those sounds that we think they can learn to spot in red, just to pull them off the page, and you've got the alphabet key there to help them remember the sounds. We've also put some words in green. Now the green ones are because there's a lot of words in English which, because they get used loads, are spelled in a really funny way. Great, good news, eh? So those are the words that in schools they got taught as sight recognition words. If you learn the first 100 words, the first 200, the first 300, reading becomes way easier because you can meet them again and again. And so for those ones, we're not sounding them out and going, okay, so or how, you know, for example, or me doesn't work. So instead, we learn them by looking at them, saying them, and then remembering the spelling, so that we can say them when we come back. So we've picked out some of those green words as well, and those ones are the words where you just learn by looking and then covering them up and practicing. So again, you can help with that, and you can show them how that works, pretty much like if you had a kid in foundation stage at school, you know, and you were helping them learn spellings. Yeah, all possible. So I think I've said most of the things I think you'll need to know. But I'm very interested to know how you get on with this. Anybody who's a helper, helping people to use this book, I would love to know what's easy, what's tricky, what works well, what doesn't work, where you need a bit more information because it's not very clear how to do it. And then these videos, you know, we can do better versions of these once we've understood that better. So if anybody wants to give me that feedback, yes, please. Email address is info at brightpathfutures.com. Just message through. Be really pleased to chat to you. If you want then to reach out, we could have a conversation, or just send me a bit of feedback by email. But I really hope you enjoy the resource. I hope it gives you some fun time and something meaningful to do for young people who might be waiting a bit of a long time to access more formal education. Thank you so much for your help. from me and from my team, people who have pulled this together, we're giving you a really hearty, big thank you.